to Must See IMDB, a podcast where we break down IMDb's #1 top-rated episode of a classic TV show, and then we discuss. Did the voters do the show justice, or are there some hidden gem episodes that need a boost up the list? I'm Abby.
And I'm Katie.
Our voices are exactly the same because we're twins.
As kids, we watched a ridiculous amount of television and continue to do so right through to today. We watch, we discuss, and now we're discussing with not just you, but also Emily, our very first guest.
And not only is she a guest, but she's one of my very best friends. So, Emily, yes. I will just introduce you by saying you are the hands down Friends expert, and that is why we have invited you here today.
Oh, wow.
To lend your wisdom and your repeated rewatchings of this series as we discuss IMDb's top-rated episode of Friends.
I am thrilled to be here. This is my one area of expertise in life, so I'm glad there's a podcast.
It's a good one to have. It's a fun one to have if that's going to be, your thing.
This is it. This is the only podcast I will ever be qualified to be on.
All right. So Friends, the series, premiered in 1994 and it concluded 10 years later in 2004. So let's just jump into our time machines and take ourselves back. Who has some initial watching memories to share, or what was sort of your relationship initially when this show was being watched weekly rather than binged?
So I almost completely missed this show when it was airing live.
What?
Yes, this is true. I was aware of it because we were all aware of it, and I watched it a little bit, but my friend's problem, shall we say, really kicked in. I want to say it's after college.
Who got you into it? Like what made that first, leap over the edge?
What I remember is I associate this show very strongly with like certain periods of my life. And I was in my early 20s. So this show is like cheap therapy, I think, before you have enough wisdom to go find a therapist. There's Friends.
See, that's what I remember, because in our early 20s, Emily and I were not only friends, but also roommates. We were basically, reenacting the show. What I recall is that this was a comfort show, I think. Like the stakes are never really that high. If the friends are having problems, it's going to be fine in the end. It is that creamy cup of coffee at Central Perk that we all just need on a daily basis sometimes.
100%. This is weird to share on a podcast, but as a person who's never been very into illicit substances, this was it makes you feel good and it's free.
You don't need a dealer.
You don't need a dealer. You have Friends.
Well, I just remember watching it. I think we were probably in 7th or 8th grade. So right at the beginning, end of middle school, beginning of high school, I think I remember watching the first season and just liking it. And I think I watched pretty much through to going away to college. And then, you got stuff going on in college. You're not going to make a scheduled time once a week to watch this. So I kind of fell off.
Opposite to you, Abby, in college, we were obsessed. We were in this very bizarre program where it was basically we were all chained to our desks, and we always had huge deadlines on Friday. But every Thursday at 8:00, every female in the program would stand up. We would make a mass exodus. There was one girl who had a dorm room right across from where we were in our classroom. We'd all go over there, watch Friends, and then mass re-enter back to our desks, rechain ourselves. And that was our one little perk of the week.
But see, that totally ties into the whole, this is your cozy comfort show, right?
It totally was.
Depths of hell, and you climb out literally to watch this show and then re-enter the stress situation.
I mean, and this was the years where Joey and Rachel were hooking up. And we were not getting much for our sacrifice, but we were still sacrificing.
Now I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking, you're right, Abs. I don't think we watched it during college. I think we watched it after college, because if you are in a good emotional place, you don't need Friends. in the same way. But as soon as you're like drop kicked out into the real world and you have crappy jobs and crappy bosses stuff and you're working crazy hours, then Friends becomes a different kind of necessity.
Heartily agree. All right, shall we turn to IMDb and see what the voters there say is the very best episode of this series?
Yes,
Absolutely.
please.
All right, well, as usual, they really love those series finales, friends. They really love wrapping it all up in a big bow. But technically, even though they share the same number rating, they've put season 5, episode 14, the one where everybody finds out, in the number 1 slot. So that is what we will be discussing today as the best episode of this series. All right, shall we tag team describing what happens in this episode?
Oh my gosh, how are we going to keep track of the, and then we know, they know, we know, they know, they know, we know, you know?
Yeah. And don't forget the subplot, because technically this episode starts with Ugly Naked Guy is moving out. All right. So Ross decides that he is going to try and get that coveted apartment across the way. So this leads to Ross and Rachel and Phoebe heading over to Ugly Naked Guy's apartment to check it out. And of course, from Ugly Naked Guy's window, what's their view? Monica and Rachel's apartment. And in what I believe is potentially the most hilarious part of the whole episode, when Phoebe sees something interesting.
Oh, look, there's Monica and Chandler. Hey! Hey, you guys! Hey!
Well, not only that, it's then they have to get Ross's tension away from the window. So there's lots of jumping up and down and like group hugs to keep him from seeing what's happening.
It is some of the best like physical comedy that they do the entire time.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things too. It's an episode where everybody gets some moments that we all remember as being some of the best out of each of them. So everybody gets to shine in this one.
Even Ross sort of high-pitched scream as he joins in the jumping up and down that he doesn't understand why it's happening, but he's going for it. All right, well, then we've got Rachel and Phoebe discussing how now they know this shocking information. Joey chimes in with, great, now we can just tell everybody. But Phoebe has other ideas.
How are we going to mess with them?
Oh.
Well, you could use your position, as the roommate, and then I would use, the strongest tool at my disposal, my sexuality.
Hello, children. Hey.
Hey! Okay, watch, learn, and don't eat my cookie.
Hey.
Hey! Ooh, wow, that jacket looks great on you.
Really?
Yeah, the material looks so soft. Oh, hello, Mr. Bicep. You've been working out?
Well, I try to, squeeze things.
Oh.
You okay?
Well, if you really want to know, I can't tell you this.
Maybe it's me. You can tell me anything.
Well, actually, you're the one person I can't tell this to, and the one person I want to the most.
Let's be honest, this is Phoebe's episode.
No, that whole back and forth is so good between the two of them. The dialogue is so spot on. It's just perfectly awkward.
So who was the writer?
I want to say Alexa Jung.
Oh, it was a woman. Of course it was a woman.
I think a woman's touch is needed when Phoebe's purposefully hitting on Chandler.
Yeah, and also Chandler and Phoebe aren't a pairing that we get to see very often. They're not typically put together in one-on-one scenes. But I mean, why did they not do that more? Because clearly it works so well.
Well, now I'm trying to think if I can think of any other.
I couldn't.
Yeah, I actually think Chandler's really strong in this episode too, especially because, he's relaying all of this Phoebe hitting on him to Monica, which she kind of doesn't believe is really happening, which I also find pretty funny, and that she's kind of like trying to talk him out of how amazing he is. But she does see it in front of her own face later in the apartment when Phoebe is blatantly, what does she do?
She pinches his butt.
Okay, that's what I thought. There was some butt things going on.
There's a butt thing going on.
And Rachel's upping the ante by giving them all of the laundry they say they're going to go and do. So Rachel gives her all the laundry. Phoebe's prepared with a bag of quarters, so they can't say no. And this is starting to tip them off that something fishy is up here. So they've basically figured out Phoebe knows. So then poor Joey is stuck in the middle again as they go running to him for more intel on what's going on, who knows what. He, stumbles into revealing that not only does Phoebe know, so does Rachel, which is shocking news to them. But they're going to play the game and raise the stakes even higher. So Chandler calls up Phoebe and asks her out on a date. And then I think you also have the teams, right? So you've got like team Chandler and Monica. And I feel like really you've got team Phoebe, Rachel, and Joey.
Well, he's not on anyone's team until Phoebe and Rachel point out that the sooner we get this out in the open, the sooner we can all talk about it. And then he gets one of the greatest Joey moments ever when he undoes Phoebe's shirt, exposing her bra. I heard at some point Marta Kaufman talking about, how that was prepped for him.
They booby trapped her bra.
They booby trapped it so that her shirt exploded.
Well, I read that it kept malfunctioning and it took Matt LeBlanc 11 takes to get it to actually work. And so the audience was super excited because it had finally worked.
It's so good. Well, and his line after it that it's not my first time. It's so pitch perfect for him.
I was surprised that audience held it together as well as they did, because now we get the true head-to-head Mortal Kombat, Chandler versus Phoebe, balls to the walls, both of them going for it. It feels like a boxing match, right? They're out there punching, then they run back to their corners and get some coaching. Then they head out and punch some more.
Oh, that's absolutely what it is.
Oh, you're going?
Not without you, lover.
Well, come here. I'm very happy we're going to have all the sex.
I'm gonna kiss you now.
Not if I kiss you first.
Here it comes. Our first kiss.
Okay, you win. I can't have sex with you.
And why not?
Because I'm in love with Monica.
You're what?
You've got the comedic gold we've discussed at length here. But I think the fact that they swoop in with the heart and soul business of Chandler admitting his love for Monica, and that's what settles the whole thing, is why this was voted the #1 episode of all.
Yeah, for all the Ross and Rachel hype, I think it's pretty clear that this is the relationship that most people, love above all others.
I was thinking about this a little bit when we were looking back at this episode, that there's very few times in a sitcom where the whole world shifts and in a permanent way, and it's not going to go back. And this is one of the moments in that show. And it happens to be the moment between two characters that you love and adore and you're rooting for. And they just executed on it so well that they managed to have all of this fun leading up to that reveal. And then the tag at the end that brings us all the way back to Ross's apartment search is also so brilliant, because you look at a lot of episodes and the B and C plots are not really connected to the A plot, and they somehow managed in this to make this little side thing that they'd had Ross doing the whole time, where you were like, poor Ross, he doesn't get to be in this episode, and it comes full circle. It's so satisfying for us watching it.
What? No. What are you doing? Get off my sister!
All right, so that's what IMDb says is the very best episode of Friends. Let's dig into our own opinions. All right, so Kate, what's your take on the best episode?
We don't often do this on this show, but I'm going to agree that the best episode is the best episode.
I have to jump in and just say, me too, it's my favorite episode.
What a shock. I'm not shocked because it's so good.
I didn't laugh my butt off at any of the other great episodes like I did with this one. I could not stop laughing.
Okay, I'm going to agree. Is this boring that we're all agreeing on the same thing? I think it makes perfect sense. I watched the other one that IMDb had as the top one, which was the last one.
That one made me cry, and I was not expecting that. I mean, the show's been over for so long, and we're all crying because the show is ending, not for really much else.
Aw. But I mean, like in comparison, because that's a good episode, but it just doesn't shine in the way that this one does. But I do have a backup episode since we all agreed.
So let's do our second place runner-ups. Who wants to share their second placers?
My second placer is nowhere near the top 10 on the list. It's one of the episodes where I remembered it for years. Every time I saw it on television or a rerun somewhere, I was like planting my butt down in front of that TV because I remember it being my first favorite episode. It's from season 1. It's episode 18. It's the one with all the poker. I think it's one of those ones where the men know how to play poker, the women do not. So they have to learn and trying to learn is a whole hilarious ensemble scene. They keep losing. So of course, Monica's competitive streak, comes to the fore. And she eventually gets this old aunt of hers to come and teach the girls how to play poker, which is also a good scene. Poker was a really big part of my college career. I was the only woman in a sort of a guys group, and we played poker. So that's probably why I love this scene so much. We start to get our first Ross Rachel stuff, but everybody gets to have these big group scenes. It's literally like 4 poker games. That's the essence of the episode.
Oh, that's awesome. I did not watch that one in all my rewatching, and now I really want to go back and look for that one.
Oh, it's been my favorite for years. It's always had a fond place in my heart. It's season 1, episode 18, the one with all the poker.
Em, what's your second placer?
So I just looked at you had told me the IMDb top one. So I looked at that one and then obviously went back and rewatched that, but I hadn't looked at the rest of this list. So I'm a little embarrassed to say that my second place is the third one on here.
But that one's so good.
The one with the embryos, which I had to look up because I didn't remember that being the name. I just remembered it being the one where they switched apartments. It's phenomenal. It's so funny. It's another one where like the world shifts in a really interesting way. And they stuck with that switched apartments for a while. And they got so much comedy out of that switch. It's such a brilliant setup to tell us, the viewer, a bunch of things that we didn't know about the characters. Oh, should I tell the plot of this that I keep talking about? They have a competition, Rachel and Monica versus Chandler and Joey. If the girls win, they have to get rid of the duck and the rooster. If the boys win, they get Monica and Rachel's apartment. And Ross is such a good master of ceremonies for this game show that he completely makes up and that is just trivia about them.
What is Monica's biggest pet peeve?
Animals dressed as humans.
That's correct. Ladies?
Same category.
According to Chandler, what phenomenon scares the bejesus out of him?
Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance.
That is correct.
The Irish jig guy? His legs flail about as if independent from his body.
Gentlemen, your pick.
It's all relative.
Monica and I had a grandmother who died. You both went to her funeral. Name that grandmother.
Nana? She has a real name.
Althea!
Althea! What are you doing? I took a shot. You're shooting with Althea?
Althea is correct.
Nice shooting!
I would love to see all the jokes that didn't make it on that board because I'm sure there were a lot. And then Rachel and Monica lose on the most mundane question, which is what is Chandler's job? And no one can remember. It just injected so much life. So that's my second, but I could keep going. I have thirds and fourths. Abby, you go.
Mine is season 3, episode 2, the one where nobody's ready. What I'm noticing the theme here is that we really like it when like large groups of the friends are together, right? Like Kate has the poker games going on where it's the girls versus the boys. And you mentioned the one with the apartment switch. So yeah, this one too, it's the whole group together the whole time. And it's like a real-time episode. So there's no cuts to the next day or whatever. It's all happening right in front of you, like a one-act play. They've all got different storylines crossing each other. And you've got the physical comedy with Chandler versus Joey fighting over a chair. And then Joey wearing every single piece of clothing that Chandler owns is such a great gag. And then drinking the fat. I mean, all of it. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, nobody's ready. Ross is trying to get them all ready. I also feel like we can all as moms now be like, come on, guys, get on your shoes. Come on. We got to get out the door. Come on. So maybe even as a mom, I was like understanding Ross's aggravation with the behavior.
One of the funniest parts to me of getting older is that you go back and you watch the things you watched as a younger person and you relate to the totally opposite person in a scene. I remember the cast of Rent talking about going back and then making the movie years later and being like, we kind of understand. Is it Benny? The guy who like is like, can you guys pay rent or like get out of the
maybe we should have paid him.
And yeah, and then as you get older, you're like, yeah, could you move a little faster? Can we put our shoes on? So
it's so true. Abby and I are finding out a lot of this. We'll have these childhood favorites where we watch them and we're like, what do we like about this show again? Oh, that person that I used to hate is making some good points.
As we continue to discuss Friends, we want to be clear that we totally understand the problematic, all over the place, different things that pop out throughout various different episodes.
Yes, of which there are many to discuss, including homophobia that shows up all the time, fat shaming that shows up all the time.
Sexism in general is a problem.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that it's a completely white show except for like one character, but Katie and I have been doing this for a while now. That's a problem in all of the shows.
Yes, but still very much worth noting and observing that.
All right. Well, I thought we could play a little game. I don't know what to call this game.
Which friend is your friend?
Well, here's the deal. I'm going to give you 6 categories, and you're going to need to answer with one of the friends. But here's the trick. You won't know what future questions are going to be asked, and you can only use each of the friends once. So you can't choose Rachel every time, for example. Is this making sense?
Yes, it is. I'm just taking a moment to pause at the Monica-ness of everything you just said.
The only un-Monica thing about this is that there really isn't a winner, which is very un-Monica.
You can declare a winner at the end if you need to, just to bring it full circle.
First question, which friend would you want as your roommate? I feel I'm being very kind of giving you the entire pool of friends to choose from on this very first question.
I'm going Phoebe.
Any reason why?
I feel like if I lived with Phoebe, I would be taken to places and do things that I would never, ever in a million years do if left to my own devices. I just think it'd be fun, but laid back, and I can spill spaghetti sauce on one side of the couch cushion and then flip it over. And when I get the Sharpie on it the next week, nobody really cares.
All right, Phoebe for the roommate win.
I think I will go Rachel.
What would make her a great roommate?
It's more of a process of elimination of the other ones.
You could borrow her outfits.
Yeah, you could borrow outfits. That's true. She has the best wardrobe.
Well, I'm going to go with Monica, which I realize is controversial. But one thing that I was reminded of in watching what IMDB says is the very best episode, and we all agree, is that she's in that bathroom waiting for Chandler, and he comes in and he's like, wait, were you cleaning in here? And to me, that's what makes her a great roommate because she loves to clean and I hate to clean.
Oh my gosh. Can I be there to watch when the fireworks start to go off?
All right. So we've all used up one friend. We now only have 5 to choose from. Next question. Which friend would you want to go into business with and what would your business together be? Now, I know you guys need some time to think about this, but I have already pre-planned. And I am totally opening a sandwich shop with Joey.
Okay. That's not fair. You know what the other questions are going to be.
Okay, I'd like to call bullshit this game.
What? Why is this bullshit? He'd be a great sandwich salesman, and I would make the sandwiches in the back.
Oh, that's true. He would be a good salesman.
That part is delightful. You know all the questions. So you have pre-planned all your answers.
Well, that's the Monica-ness of it all. I'm sure we're all going to select which friend we're most like. And probably I'm going to get Monica. So I'm just leaning in, guys. I'm leaning into the Monica.
I love it. Okay, I'm gonna go Monica, because I do think in the business space, having somebody who is deeply organized and very on top of things is the way to go. So I would go Monica. I can't even decide on a business. But you could take Monica in a new direction that is a little more Martha Stewart-y.
Oh my gosh, you totally could. She's constantly like, perfecting the table at Thanksgiving or whatever.
Yeah, if Monica had lived in the era of Instagram, she would have been set. She would have been an influencer.
I'm actually going to go with Rachel, because I am the organized technical person. I need the salesperson. I need the pretty face and the people person and the schmoozer. And I feel that Rachel does that very well. I mean, she's in sales, for crying out loud. She's like a professional buyer at one point. I'm more, you go, to the meeting, and I'm going to stay back here and do all the technical stuff. So I think I'm going Rachel.
I like that. I think Rachel and you would work well together.
I think we would too.
All right. Next question. Which friend would you have wanted to take as your prom date?
I'm going Joey on this. I don't like to sleep with him at the end of the night, but I feel like he's a good party person. My friends would like him. He's happy-go-lucky. And, sometimes prom has all this angst because it's supposed to be so special, blah, blah, blah. I just feel like he would be a fun night out. I'd totally take Joey.
My brain wants to say Ross. I think that also this is like what 25-year-old me had a crush on Ross. So that's where I landed. I'd like to take my crush.
Yeah, my key point is that you would want Ross during the show, not Ross during his own prom era.
Correct. But I think that is probably true of every single one of them, that like, if the question is which of them in their own prom years do you want to take, the answer is you're staying home.
I concur.
I concur. Because I also think Ross would make a great prom date. If I went to prom with Ross, first of all, I would have spent a week in his garage prior to prom so that he can teach me the routine. Then we go to prom, and much to Monica's chagrin, we steal her thunder and perform the routine in front of the entire school. And that is why Ross would make a great prom date. Okay, next friend. Which friend would you want to be stuck in an ATM vestibule with during a blackout?
Oh my God, who do I have left?
I'm actually going Monica on this one, because I think that Monica would be able to create activities, and she'd have a bunch of supplies in her purse. I feel like I would be most entertained by Monica and able to pass the time, as it were.
I chose Joey. I figure we can toss raisinets into each other's mouth.
That's not the thing you should do if you're locked in an ATM vestibule with Joey. You're just saying there's other things. And that is the exact thing that Joey is good at.
I also just realized I can't pick Joey because we have a sandwich business. Darn it!
Haha, I picked Joey.
But you're not doing raisinets, Em. Okay, we get what's happening here. No raisinets in that ATM vestibule.
I'm just saying.
Be careful of the security camera. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, isn't it a blackout?
Oh,
yeah, there's a blackout. All right, well then I'm going to have to switch my answer to the other super fun friend, which is going to be Phoebe. Hopefully she brought her guitar. We can sing some Smelly Cat songs until we're let out.
This is a delightful and much more PG answer than my answer.
I like your answer, Emily.
Your answer is a good one, Em. All right. But which friend would you want as your co-parent?
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. So I've got Ross and Chandler left, and not a huge fan of Ross's parenting skills. I don't think Ben's allowed to play with Barbie dolls, blah, blah. Hence Chandler for reasons threefold. The first being my favorite Chandler scene in the entire series. It's the scene where he's trying to save their chance at getting, I think her name is Erica in the show, but they basically lied to Erica, who chose them as parents for the child that she's going to give up because of some paperwork mix up, and she thought they were one couple and they're not. And so it all blows up in their faces, and he basically has to explain to her, why they're so sorry that they lied.
Erica, wait.
I have nothing to say to you.
You have every reason to be upset. We did lie, but only because we've been waiting and trying to have a baby for so long. And we don't know how long it's going to be before we get another chance again.
Well, why don't you ask the Reverend to pray on it?
Erica, please. Just consider us.
And he just explains how Monica is already a mom. And I did cry during that one too. I just think he would be a great dad. He's goofy and silly. And I am definitely the alpha parent and I can boss him around. So threefold, makes a good parent. I can boss him around, and goofy and silly would have a great time with the kids.
All right. I also picked Chandler for this. And I guess great twin minds think alike because for all the same reasons.
Oh my gosh, does this mean we have to share him at the same time? This is getting weird.
It's about to get weirder, you guys. I also picked Chandler.
Wow.
It's probably influenced by the fact that you see him parent for a grand total of one episode and he holds a baby. It could be that day 2 of Chandler being a parent was really bad, but we only saw day 1.
Excellent point.
All right. Well, Chandler all around for dads. All right. This is the last one. So
I'm so worried.
No, it's easy. I'm letting it off. Easy at the end. Which friend are you having coffee with at Central Perk?
Oh, I'm excited about this. I get Ross.
I get Rachel. We'll come at separate times.
I get Phoebe.
Nice. That's fun too. I feel like I could have good intellectual conversation with Ross.
I figure Rachel and I will just look at fashion magazines and chat.
I mean, Phoebe will sing.
Yeah,
I
look
feel
at a
like
concert.
that's the best. You get the concert.
All right, so there you have it. The IMDb voters say that season 5, episode 14, the one where everybody finds out, is the very best episode of Friends. And we all agree with their assessment that that is the case. However, we each also offered a second place winner. I, Abby, will just say, hey, season 3, episode 2, the one where no one is ready, is also worth taking a look at.
For my second choice, I encourage everyone to go back to season 1, episode 18, the one with all the poker.
Okay, so my second choice was the one with the embryos, which is season 4, episode 12.
Hooray for Friends! And hooray for my friend for coming and being on our Friends episode! Hooray!
Thank you for having me very much.
3 cheers for Emily. 3 cheers for all of our friends.
Speaking of friends, next week we will be joined by one of my very best friends. Lily will be joining us to discuss a show that she introduced me and subsequently Abby to. It is a British version of Friends. This show is called Coupling. It ran for 4 seasons, and Coupling, if you're looking for it, is currently streaming on HBO Max. Yes, so grab a pint of Guinness and go to the bar, not the coffee shop, with your British friends. All right, see you then.